As Tiffany Henyard complains about being kept off the township ballot, opponents call her a hypocrite. The dictator of Dalton is looking for democracy. What do we got going on? We've got a quick video we're going to watch, but more importantly, we've got a press release that was released yesterday at the town hall. It was a Thornton Township town hall meeting that wasn't because they didn't have a quorum. Another one of those deals, right? So now Tiffany Henyard is basically handing out propaganda. We're going to look at that propaganda, see if it makes any sense whatsoever. But yeah, there's a lot of coming and going. Let's get into it. Here we go. And as I'm recording this, there's a meeting going on right now over a hearing. I mean, there is just so much stuff going on. It's insanity. Between Dalton and Township of Thornton, there is just so much. Here's a quick video doing a catch up on where we sit right now.
Okay. Napoleon. Illegal.
Illegal.
Napoleon, how you feel?
Well, it's only Thursday, but Tiffany Henyard has had quite the week. Turmoil, yelling, and political maneuvering in both of her jobs. Tonight, some of her opponents are calling her a hypocrite. She's fighting to stay on one ballot while supporting her challengers getting thrown off another. CBS News Chicago's Jermont Terry is always investigating.
Now, while that sounds funny, that is exactly what's going to go on. I mean, it's what's going on right now. I mean, you can't have it both ways, but Tiffany Henyard literally is trying to have it both ways. It's like nothing I have ever seen.
He's here now to break down exactly what's going on tonight.
Joe, there's a lot to unpack. Now, some are questioning if Henyard is crying foul for getting kicked off the township ballot, yet using the same, very similar method to get her those running against her for the ballot in Dalton off the ballot.
So we have to get this village back on track.
That's Cassandra Hobson-Jordan, who's running to unseat Tiffany Henyard as Dalton's mayor. Hobson-Jordan and Denasha Harrison formed an independent party, but they hit a snag when someone filed this objection.
I mean, nice try, but yeah.
The petitioner is DeMarcus Grigley. He's an Henyard ally.
When you see her, you see him.
That's Grigley, an all-black standing behind Henyard today as she addressed the outcome of this week's township, where she did not get the Democratic nomination.
He only nominated himself and his slate, which was wrong.
Yet that's the exact reason the petition wants the Dalton Electoral Board to get Hobson-Jordan and Harrison, who's running for trustee, off the ballot because they did not file a complete slate.
Very hypocritical, being that we just dealt with the situation with the caucus.
What was filed against us is not about the people's voice being heard.
But who can forget on Tuesday, Henyard pleaded to the caucus.
Oh, that was great.
To let her people speak.
Napoleon, you said not let the people be heard.
If you
That was probably my favorite part of that whole caucus was when the crowd starts to sing, na, 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 hey, hey, goodbye. I mean, that was just epic. I mean, it's funny, right? It's funny. We've been through so much as far as, hey, when is something going to happen that is reality? And reality check, like reality check TV. We had that, right? We had that in that caucus.
felt that wasn't right, and you felt that was illegal, then how is it that it's okay
To do it today.
to do it to the village?
And she's really desperate. She sees that everything is falling apart, and
Yep.
at this point is let me do whatever I can to try to hold on with to any one of these positions.
I think it's about democracy and hypocrisy.
Their attorney points out the rules for township caucus and village municipalities are not the same. He references it.
Okay, pay attention here. This is the attorney for two people that Tiffany Henyard is trying to hold off the ballot as independents, and look at what she is citing to keep them off.
2017 federal court decision, which sets the precedent a new party does not require a full slate in villages.
Again, this has been decided. It was decided 7 years ago that you can't enforce this anymore.
Yet these two candidates are forced to fight the Dalton Electoral Board to stay on the ballot.
No, I think this slimy.
Now, the two independent candidates have a hearing for December 16th with the Electoral Board. Their attorney is confident that their names will stay on the April ballots. But remember, Henyard and trustee Jason House will square off first in the primary election in February of next year.
Never a dull moment.
Not in Dalton nor Thornton Township these days, Joe.
Jermont, thanks very much.
I mean, just absolutely crazy. I mean, this stuff, you literally, you can't make, you can't make this stuff up. If you tried, you'd be like, nah, that sounds so fake. There's no way anybody's going to believe that. But here we are. All right. So as you can see, this is a press release. This was a press release sent to me by Critical Smoker. He is live streaming an event right now. Electoral Board, Thornton Township. Give him a like and subscribe. Also Critical or Reality Check TV Chicago. That's another great local source that's been covering all of the goings-ons. This is a press release that Tiffany Henyard handed out yesterday, or maybe the day before. I can't remember. There's been so much activity. Yesterday, after they had the Township Thornton meeting that didn't really go anywhere because they didn't have a quorum, because attorneys are saying, hey, don't go there because they're going to put somebody on the board that's going to, give Tiffany Henyard another ally, and we don't want that. So here's our political strategy. Here's the conspiracy against Tiffany. Now, this is written by Keith Price. Now, he is the director of the food bank in Thornton. So you've got your food bank director doing a press release, and there's a bunch of other stuff in here as well. We're going to get to that, including some emails with attorneys involved, Anyway, it's with great concern that I composed this missive. As many of you know, the Democratic caucus for Thornton Township was held on December 3rd in Homewood, Illinois. This process was not only rigged, but also violated the rights of numerous Thornton Township residents as voters and potential nominees who had planned to be motioned for consideration during the caucus. Senator and Committeeman Napoleon Harris, along with, I believe that is Democratic office, Township of Thornton. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that term. And if you abbreviate something, the first time you spell it all out and then reference that. That's kind of how that works, because I don't know what you're talking about. Conspired to manipulate the caucus proceedings by hosting a so-called private function prior to the official caucus. A letter from the DOT organization signed by Committeeman Harris, Napoleon Harris, who won the caucus, clearly stated that doors would not open for the caucus until 6:30 p.m. We were present at the 4 p.m. hour. However, during this private function, in quotes, private function, Harris, his DOT organization, and their attorney, Bert Odelson, allowed hand-picked individuals to enter the facility through side doors. Many of these individuals were not properly vetted, and many were not even residents of Thornton Township. So anytime you have something along these lines where, if you, the layperson, not an attorney, doesn't really know what the deal is, you go to an attorney, and the attorney that I have on record here is Nate the Lawyer. Now, he sent me a super chat of $10. Nate the Lawyer, appreciate it so much. I tried to reach out to you via email, went to your management company, much appreciated. I am now reading that because I missed it on my live stream. So Nate the Lawyer said, and I had questions as to how they nominate folks within the caucus process. And here's kind of the 4 sentences that I'm going to pivot off of here. They nominate slates for all positions. Each slate receives votes. Henyard did not have a complete slate, so hers was DQ, disqualified. Since only one slate left, they voice voted them in. That is what happened. That is what happened with Bert Odelson there. Anything else, you're going to need to take to court, right? You're going to have to take to court. So this document here that we are looking at is basically TIF losing control and trying to hang on, like the independent party female member said, trying to hold on to anything that she can, because this is going wildly sideways against her. The caucus also unfairly targeted Supervisor Tiffany A. Henyard by adopting rules that prohibited her from running for 2 seats in the same election cycle. This rule appears to contradict the election code, as the positions of mayor and supervisor are not incompatible. Furthermore, there's case law. Here we go. There's case law which clearly states that established political parties do not need to have a full slate. Libertarian Party of Illinois versus Charles Scholes, 2017. So Tiffany Henyard is literally citing a case in one race, supervisor of Township Thornton, and then using it to hold against her opponents in the dictator of Dalton, in the Dalton, village of Dalton, mayor campaign, using the same damn case. Libertarian Party of Illinois versus Charles Schultz, 2017. So you got to go with one way or the other, right? I mean, you got to pick a battle and go with it. This thing here, I mean, I'm just left with what? You're doing what? Meanwhile, Senator Napoleon Harris himself holds multiple positions, and several candidates on his slate are running for incompatible positions in this election cycle. Additionally, his slated assessor, and that was the deal. Is that on Tiffany Henyard's slate, she didn't have an assessor. I mean, she didn't have her paperwork in. She didn't have a full slate, and she just thought, this will be fine. You know, I got precedent on that other case. And she's literally holding that against the 2 independent candidates in Dalton. I mean, it's like, it's insane. That's what it is. It's insanity. It's insanity from where I sit here in Bellevue, Washington. I mean, it's just like, what? You're talking about what? So currently holds incompatible positions, filed for the February 25th primary, but was issued a letter from the Thornton Township clerk stating that she could not be a candidate in this election cycle due to that error. This blatant targeting, voter suppression, and election manipulation should not be tolerated in our democracy. Now we're talking about democracy. But we've had the dictator of Dalton. You know, that's not exactly democracy speak there, is it? Tiffany Henyard is getting a taste of her own medicine, and it is not going down well. The DOT organization, still don't know what that is. DOT organization's actions also prevented proper vetting of participants to ensure they were qualified to participate in the caucus. One of the questions I have is, if it's a voice vote, and it's based on number of people in the building, doesn't that get tricky? I mean, who yells loudest? It's not an exact science. I get that. But here's where that question is going, is even if Tiffany Henyard, even if Tiff, and I stole that, by the way, from I Am Eve 9, another podcaster here on YouTube. I thought it was great. Tiff. So we're going to go with Tiff. And even though some of you are like, oh, Sean, can't do that. It's disrespectful. Well, I think some of the actions going on here are pretty disrespectful to democracy in general. And it's not the ones we're reading, right? So getting back, circling back around, even if Tiffany Henyard had all of her people in the building, say it was 100, say it was 200 tops. You've got 400 or 500 people in there that were Napoleon Harris supporters. So, okay, you get all of Tiffany's folks in there. She still would have lost. I don't see any way that you can say all those people that were outside the building that didn't get in during the caucus, even if they did, this is a loser. But when you're going down, you gotta hang on with your fingernails and just hope for the best. And that is exactly what we've got going on here. This is a press release. I use that term loosely because I've got it here in Bellevue, Washington, right? It is created to try and sway favor to Tiffany Henyard, and she is on a very, very steep downward slope. During the proceedings, Harris and his team refused to allow any other nominees to be presented, which appears to violate caucus rules and procedures. You know what? Figure that out in court. That's the only way. I mean, you've got not all of this needs to be figured out in court if you're going to go down that road. And I don't think Tiffany Henyard has the resources, and Township of Thornton certainly isn't paying for it. So I think it comes down to resources and who can fight the biggest battle. And as we're going to find out, I mean, there are much bigger issues at stake going on here right now. These actions were a blatant mockery of the democratic process. Some would say that most of Tiffany Henyard, Tiff's, her time as supervisor and her time as mayor have been a blatant mockery of the democratic process. And that's why there's such an uprising in not only Thornton Township and in Dalton against her. Now, for those of you listening that are ardent supporters of Tiffany Henyard, what I would say is that you like her because she gave you a lot of stuff. She keeps your big bingo going. She gives you free turkeys. She gives you free food. She has events for you. Okay. But is that really an indication of who is the best leader? Because bills aren't getting paid. Meetings aren't being had, where decisions are being made. Budgets are, who knows what's going on. You've got FBI probes. You've got Lori Lightfoot breathing down the neck with a report that's coming out in January. All of those things. Is that worth your free turkeys and, what you perceive as somebody who supports you? Is all of that worth what you're getting for free, which in essence is your own taxpayers' money? It's your own people's money. So all of this ridiculousness, and what are you ending up with? Some free turkeys, all right, and big bingo, and a few, handful of stuff like that. I urge all concerned recipients to take immediate action by either allowing another caucus to be held. Yeah, but the constituents don't really make that decision, right? They don't. I mean, you're going to have to battle this out in court, or granting ballot access to all candidates. Okay, but then you got to do that in Dalton as well. This would not be a request if this process was done decent and in order. Time is of the essence. Yeah, the clock is ticking, Keith Price. It is. I mean, it's just boom, it's going. All right. Next page here. Timeline of repeated requests for consent emails by Trustee Carlisle and denial by lawyers. So we've just got this laundry list of what Tiffany Henyard and her associates are basically stating. Here is the timeline. So, okay, what does that prove? What are we establishing here? Does this even make sense? Why are you handing this out as a press release? It makes no sense. This is going to be handled in court if it gets handled. So request for consent emails. Okay. So those are all the emails. All right. Now we got to get into some of the legal issues. And one of the legal issues is that you've got a policy expiration. You've got the insurance policy on the Township of Thornton expired on December 1. Township of Thornton is flying blind right now. They have no coverage. If a major lawsuit pops up, good luck with that. Are you paying for that out of pocket? I'm not really sure, because at this point, you've got an issue because you do not have binding coverage. And does binding coverage obligate the township, or is it cancelable if no payment is made? They're trying to figure out, hey, without a meeting being held, because meetings have not been being held on, I believe it's Bert Odelson's legal advice. And he's saying, no, don't have one. And here's why. And they're following that. And you know what? Seems to be working, because Tiffany Henyard is now off the ballot in Township of Thornton. Thank you for your email and for CCing the clerk to assist in providing agent agendas that include board votes on insurance matters. So I want to reiterate, I do not feel comfortable signing a contract or renewal for over $390,000 without board approval, especially given the current environment we're in. This is from Michael Delgado. He is the attorney. He is attorney representing Tiffany Henyard, essentially. So you got $390,000 that needs to be approved for an insurance policy. Now, if I'm not, I believe that insurance policy was like $100 and something thousand. a year or two ago. And because there's been so many lawsuits that their insurance has just it's gone to the moon, right? We've had invoices as small as $14.87 for hot cocoa mix and $36 for forks and knives scrutinized and reviewed and declined for payment. In light of this, it's reasonable to expect questions if someone relies solely on a verbal conversation to suggest that it's acceptable for us to sign a contract worth over $390,000 without board approval. Well, they can't get it because you got so much political nonsense going on. The insurance is, without a doubt, an essential matter and should be approved by the board. I highly recommend obtaining something in writing from the township lawyer explicitly stating that a contract of this magnitude does not require board approval. Good luck with that. This will help ensure that all actions are supported by clear legal guidance and reduce the likelihood of future concerns of misunderstandings. Does all of this end up in court? I don't see any way that this is feasible for any of these parties. But, in order to get some of this to move forward, you're going to have to get a judge to rule on it, right? Otherwise, somebody's just going to have to bend over and take it. And I don't really see Tiffany Henyard going that route. She'll just kind of ignore everything and, don't have insurance. All right. So then we got emails saying, we've got this bunch of stuff going on. And then we've got a timeline of events leading to Thornton Township's current lack of insurance. So if you can read through this, and it basically comes down to, hey, the insurance company isn't going to renew our policy. It becomes a failure to meet this deadline, 12/1/2024, which has since passed. Failure to meet this deadline would result in the termination of coverage with no extension. And that's where we are right now. Thornton Township doesn't have insurance. So, that is not a good position for a municipality to be in. That's like a hard no-no. You don't run a business without insurance unless you're just willing to roll the dice and see how it goes. And if you get sued, well, we gave it a shot, kinda. Yeah, you know what? So you've got this, this is trying to shift the blame to somebody else and basically saying because the board meetings weren't being held, they were boycotted by trustees. That's why we don't have insurance. But I think the trustees would say the reason that we're not making these decisions is because we don't have the numbers in front of us. And Tiffany Henyard and her cohorts have not disclosed. They have never been transparent with all the numbers as to where they sit and what should be, decided on moving forward. So, and we've got this from the desk of Tiffany Henyard, my Thornton Township family. Let's be clear. This was not an accident. This was not a misunderstanding. This was a deliberate act of voter suppression. I think it was more politics. And we're talking about the caucus here. We have the proof. We have it on video. We have the testimony of witnesses. People saw exactly what happened. Well, from my standpoint, there were some legal ramifications. You didn't have a full slate. And they had a party in there before and you came when you came to the party and then you complained because somebody used political tactics that you use all the time. And now you don't like it, but you're using them on independent candidates at the village of Dalton. So you gotta pick your battles because playing on both sides of the fence, that's not going to work because there's enough people out there that are smart enough to kind of figure out, what do we got going on here? So you go on to say, we have the proof. We have it on video. We have the testimony of witnesses. People say, yeah, okay. Well, let me tell you something else. He's a coward. Well, now we're name calling because if he thought he was going to win, he would have let the people in. He didn't just betray the process. He betrayed the people. Well, what did I read from Nate the lawyer? Didn't have a complete slate. So boom, you're off. Okay. Yeah. Pretty simple. Otherwise, battle it out in court. And is Tiffany Henyard going to go there? Yeah. That is a massive uphill battle. And she's already fighting what? Somebody sent me a message saying 49 lawsuits. 49 lawsuits I mean, that's insanity. A couple of lawsuits will ruin your whole day. One lawsuit, bad one, will ruin your whole day. Your insurance goes through the moon, your E&O insurance, liability insurance, whatever it is that you need. It's just a mess. You've got all this stress. You got 49 of those bad boys. I won't stand for it, and neither should you, Tiffany Henyard goes on to say. We owe it to the generations who came before us, the ones who faced violence and hatred just to make sure we had this right. We owe it to our children and grandchildren to show them that democracy is worth fighting for. This coming from the dictator of Dalton, now claiming democracy. I mean, that's the way I see it, right? So I'm asking you to join me this Saturday at yada yada. Bring your family, bring your neighbors. They're going to have a get together. And as Dr. King once said, the time is always right to do what is right. And the time is now. So let's fight it together. Let's stand together. Let's win together. Well, I watched the dictator of Dalton, Tiffany Henyard, being interviewed by Jenna Barnes, WGN, and Jenna Barnes asked, what happens if you don't win? We're going to win. We're going in there. I got my people. You don't have enough people to win, period. That's the brutal honesty. You don't have enough supporters. You don't have enough votes to win any of this. That has been proven. Even if you had all of your folks in there in that gymnasium, would have still been the same result. Same result. You would have lost. So, but you didn't even get on the ballot because you didn't have a full slate. And if you're going to go ahead and contest that, well, I guess you'll see whomever in court. You'll see Bert in court. Thank you. And I'll see you this Saturday. Supervisor Tiffany Henyard. I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. The end is near, people. And then we get into, examples of, this is all in the same press release. Then we get into examples of voter suppression, unfair rules targeting Tiffany, voter venue manipulation, preferential treatment inside the venue, blocking non-supporters from entering. Now, was some of this stuff slimy? Maybe. Is it unethical? I don't know. Is it illegal? I don't think so. But again, I'm not a lawyer, so battle that bad boy out in court. Get on the slate or get on the docket with a judge and let that get sorted out. Blocking non-supporters from entering, selective entry through side doors, delayed vetting process, public exclusion, unlawful exclusion of other nominees, failure to properly vet participants, election manipulation by dot organization. Now, some of the things that I think about when I see this press release is if you're going to battle this stuff out in court, don't give out your argument to your opponents. Don't give out your argument to the point where some jackass in Seattle is broadcasting it. You know what I mean? Let your attorneys do your job and follow your attorney's advice. Anything else is probably you just pulling out the gun and shooting yourself in the foot. So why do we have this press release? I mean, it's because Tiffany Henyard is at the end and she's trying to hang on to whatever she's got going on. And it's not a lot. So maybe her constituents will buy into this, but they've already bought into this. They're already on board and there's not enough of them to win this battle. So to me, this is an uphill battle, not worth fighting. And if you don't have the money to fight it, then what are you going to do? Is she being funded by some outside sources? Maybe she is. I don't know. I mean, that's just a thought that comes to my mind. I have no idea, right? But it takes a lot of money to fight all these lawsuits. And I do not see this being a reality that there's any which way that she can win any of this stuff. But, you get the right judge on the right day and, anything is possible. Anything is possible. We've seen this in business. You've seen this with Trump. You've seen this all day long. Kind of depends on who's sitting in the judge's seat and, how their morning went and how they're feeling. And have they been wronged by Tiffany Henyard in the past? Did they find some injustice where, Napoleon Harris, he helped them out? I don't know. I mean, those are the random things that come up on a case like this or all of these cases. And it's literally a roll of the dice. And that's why so many lawsuits get settled, because you don't want to go in to having a judge determine your fate. You want to at least be able to negotiate a little bit of what's going on. But right now there is so many little bits and pieces being juggled out there. and they're not going in Tiffany Henyard's favor. They're not going in the right direction. So it'll be really interesting to see how all this plays out. And like the interview at the beginning, there's never a dull moment in Thornton or Dalton. All right. That's all I got for now. Thanks again. And thanks again to Critical Smoker for providing this document, this press release. Catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.